Hi, welcome back to the National Equine Forum. You've been watching the live stream this morning. Thank you for joining us. This afternoon, we've got a great lineup of guests for you. We're talking about safety in equestrianism. We have the police here talking about rural crime. Jim Green from Dorset, Hampshire Fire and Rescue is going to be talking about rescuing horses and how we need to be more safe. What can we do to make their life easier and prevent accidents? And then Professor Sue Dyson is talking about her rider weight study. So I hope you can join us this afternoon. Get involved in the conversation on Twitter, on Facebook. Just use #HorseHour, #NEF18. And don't forget, we're picking questions to put to the panels. Ask your questions and they may well be answered. I hope you enjoy this afternoon and I'll speak to you soon. Hi, welcome back to the National.
Owners and carriage drivers. We deal with incidents with fireworks, drones, low-flying aircraft, dog attacks, but I would say that 90% of our work is to deal and actually influence the way that horses and riders are perceived and are driven past by cars. Now, horsepower. It's interesting to see where this term comes from. Industrial Revolution, the new steam engines, and James Watt, the eminent mechanical engineer, his picture is up in the council chamber up here. He said that I want to compare these new machines with something. So he chose horses, and the term horsepower came about. And horse owners were a little bit unsure about this because they could see that their livelihood may be in agriculture and maybe operating these machines. They were actually under threat. Fast forward to the 20th century, newfangled automobiles are on the roads. And again, that sort of relationship between the real horsepower, horses, and brake horsepower now is a little bit uneasy. And then we fast forward again to the 21st century today, and that relationship between the real horsepower and brake horsepower is still an uneasy one.
मुझे माफ करो Piszę proszę Slicha Forgive me
So we released or launched our Dead Slow campaign 2 years ago. And we released it because we've been keeping statistics since 2010. And when we released them 2 years ago, it was shocking by anybody's standards. And immediately we launched the campaign on BBC Breakfast. MP stood up in Parliament and asked the Department of Transport what they're doing about the safety of horses on the roads. The CEO of the Driving Instructors Association contacted us that morning. How can I help you educate drivers? So now, today, we're actually releasing the new figures that we've collected on our Horse Accidents website. And this is what's happened over the last 7 years. There's been 2,900 reports of incidents involving horses on the roads. 39 riders have been killed. 230 horses have died at the scene or because of their injuries. And 840 horses have been injured. And this is what I think the next one that is most interesting really, because it says 85% of those incidents are because cars are passing too fast or too close or both past the horse. So you could argue that 85% of those figures are avoidable. And this is it year on year. You'll see when we launched the Horse Accidents website, there was a bit of historical reporting, so it's very high, and then it drops, and then it begins to rise again. And then when you see in 2016, when we launched the Horse Accident website, again, more media coverage, more reports. But I'm pleased to announce, although the figures are still shocking, that it's been a drop, which is encouraging, especially the number of horses that were killed. 21 last year, 8 horses on the roads this year. 3 strands. I'll come to safer drivers in a minute, but safer riders, and that is interesting as well, because we want riders to take their responsibilities for the shared use of the road as well. We want them to wear conspicuous clothing. We want them to thank drivers. We want them to be aware of their obligation under the highway code. We want the riders to take responsibilities as well, and that will lead to safer horses. But safer drivers. We are educating drivers on how to pass horses safely and trying to influence driver behaviour when they see a horse on the road. We want to improve their knowledge, because we're not saying, you know, do this, do this. We want to let them know why they should pass horses safely. So give them knowledge, that will improve their attitude and it will improve their behaviour. And when we talk to driving groups, and we're doing a lot of that at the moment, they say, well, what do riders face on the roads? I'm show them these videos. Now, you can see a vulnerable road user, pedestrian, has just crossed in front. Lorry driver stops for them, but puts the accelerator on, no care at all, and drives straight past these horses. Now, I've removed the sound from this video, because you could say the language is somewhat colourful. They weren't discussing the price of broccoli at Sainsbury's, I can assure you that. But, you know, and the drivers thought, OK, I get that. And then this next one that you saw, you wouldn't think there's room for a lorry past there. The cars stopped. But then along comes the lorry, and as having been in the mounted police, let me tell you, that would have made a very good police force there. The drivers are saying the penny drops a little bit. Oh, I can see what you mean about what riders have to face on the roads. So dead or dead slut is our campaign. And what we're saying to them, we're actually giving them, believe it or not, a recognised behavioural change technique. It's called implementation intervention. So what we're saying to drivers and asking them to say, if I see a horse on the road, then I will. And these are the 4 messages. Slow down to a maximum of 15 miles an hour. Be patient. I won't sound my horn. I won't rev my engine. When it's safe to do, I will pass the horse wide and slow, at least a car's width if possible, and I'll get slowly away. A behavioural change technique. And what we're saying to drivers is, horses don't want to be on the roads. We don't want to be on the roads. It'd be great if there's safe off-road access everywhere. But be riding from a bridleway or a multi-user route to another bridleway or multi-user route, or riding from a stable to a bridleway. And they're saying, oh, what, you don't really want to be on the roads? No, we don't. The penny drops a little bit further. We say there's 3 brains working. All right, you've got your drivers. All right, you've got the riders. But don't forget the horse's brain. They are flight animals, and they're working, I don't want to anthropomorphise this too much, but they're working to a risk assessment that's thousands and thousands of years old. They're either going to remove that risk by kicking, they're going to reduce that risk by moving away, or they're actually going to try and avoid that risk by turning around and spinning the other way. Haven't we all been there? But the drivers say, OK, penny drops a little bit more. And then, with drivers' help and riders training their horses, we can help the horses to accept that risk. So the drivers say, OK, so if I do pass wide and slow, and I do slow down to a maximum of 50 miles an hour, I can help the horses to accept that risk that they might want to either remove, reduce, or avoid. Yes, penny drops a little bit more. Remove, reduce, avoid, and accept that risk. I say to them, even the best trained horses may react to something. And I can tell you, police horses, there's no such thing as bomb-proof. There might just be a flick of an ear or a movement of a muscle, but they will react. OK, I'm getting it. Horses may react to something. We talk about the horse's eyesight. You know, 285 degrees monocular sight, 65 degrees binocular, and there are these blind areas, small one at the front, large one at the back. Oh, right, okay. And the horse's eye is trained, it's going to pick up a predator, and their behaviour might affect what they see. All right, horse's eyesight. Okay, I'm getting it. I tell them, we see a puddle on the road. Horse might see a sinkhole. Expanding, I'm getting it. We tell them that horse damaged all. Chris Goffey, that might be the messages horse owners want to hear, but he's saying, if you don't care about the horse, don't care about the rider, imagine what damage that is going to cause to your pride and joy and your classic car. We're actually showing them how quickly horses can move. So we're showing them this video here. Just watch the cameraman there.
At the Curragh. Look at the cameraman here in the background as the horse Slim Shady kicks it out.
Okay.
Luckily his camera was in
There's
the
all
way.
of you there,
Well,
once, twice, and the drivers are thinking, that is how fast, and that was in slow motion. That is how far the reach of a horse can be, once, twice. And they're going, okay, I'm getting it. That's why I pass wide and slow. And there's this one as well that we show them. So, yes, all right, don't condone the branding. But that horse has thought there's a risk there. I'm going to remove that risk. The driver's never seen that before. I'm getting the message now. The penny is nearly always all the way to the bottom. We tell them their obligations under the Highway Code. You know, Rule 215. Be particularly careful when you pass horses. Be riding double file because the horse on the inside may be inexperienced. You know, look out for riders' signals. You know, heed their advice if they're asking you to stop or to slow down. And treat every horse as a potential hazard. So it's there in the Highway Code, 215. You know, I'm not asking them to put the Highway Code under their pillow at night, but there it is. It's in the Highway Code. The penny is almost to the bottom now. So dead or dead slow, that is our campaign. If I see a horse on the road, then I will slow down to a maximum of 15 miles an hour. I will be patient. I won't sound my horn. I won't rev my engine. When safe to do so, I will pass the horse wide and slow, at least a card's width, and I will drive slowly away. So we're saying to them, observe the dead slow advice, and we are going to save lives. Horses' lives, riders' lives, and drivers' lives. Some of the work the British Horse Society have been doing since the launch of the dead slow is we had a Westminster Hall debate in July last year about the safety of horses. The Transport Minister was there, and he heard about our horse accidents website and our stats, and he offered the Department of Transport statisticians to work with us so we can actually look at our stats. And University of College London are doing some work with us, making the horse accidents website much more in tune and available to compare to Stats 19, the police statistics, and hospital statistics. Our Dead Slow campaign has been linked with the government Think campaign. 3.5 million views when it came out. More than Beyonce, more than Game of Thrones. British Horse Society, Beyonce, Game of Thrones, who'd have thought? We won the Driver Education Campaign of the Year with the Driving Instructors Association in 2016. And you know, one of the reasons that we won that was because we weren't pointing the finger at drivers and saying, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. We were saying, no, riders have a responsibility for that shared use of the road as well. And they liked that. We've done a webinar with the Driving Instructors Association. Motor Schools Association is on board. IAM Road Smart are there with us. BBC Country File, we're on there. 7.2 million viewers saw and heard about our Dead Slow campaign. Transport Research Laboratory, we commissioned a report on the conspicuity of riders on the roads. There's two outcomes we wanted from that. We wanted to maximise the likelihood that motorised users can detect horses on the roads and be able to accurately judge, and this is the important one, the speed and the distance when they come to it. So it came up with 3 recommendations. Where horses are significantly used on the roads, speed limits should be reduced and enforced. The second one, riders should utilise the use of LED lights on our shoulders and on the points of hip. So we exaggerate the width of the horse as opposed to the height of the horse. And it talks about wearing high visibility clothing and all the time, but be aware of the background, but also cues of the high vis leggings. Really important bit of work. We now have scientific evidence that proves and explains why riders should be wearing conspicuous clothing. Police units. We've got a tremendous relationship with some police units. North Yorkshire Police with their Operation Spartan. Greater Manchester Police with their Operation Considerate. The Welsh Police Forces, SNAP, where they are asking for riders to submit their helmet cam footage, and then they will look at it, either advise the drivers or actually take action and enforce. Also, there's the close pass operation, which is used for cyclists. Coppers come out in plain clothes and they ride along on cycles. People that pass too close to bicycles get stopped by a traffic car further up the road. We are actually having plainclothes police officers in Scotland, mounted units out, and they are in the same way. Cars passing too fast or too close are being stopped. And we're looking at that with other mounted units around the country. We've been training the driver trainers of Ocado.com's, Morrison's, Next, John Lewis, Waitrose, and their driver trainers were going in and giving this presentation. And they're a bit of a tough crowd, these driver trainers. What can you tell me about passing horses? When we've given them all these messages, they're there writing things down. We had a note back from Waitrose yesterday. Thank you so much for your training. We are going to include that in all our CPC packages. Other vulnerable road user groups. I gave a presentation at a road safety conference, and I called us the forgotten vulnerable road user. The motorcyclists, no, we are the forgotten and vulnerable road user. The cyclists, no, we are. So we got together. If we're all vulnerable road users and we think we're forgotten, surely our voice together, because the same messages, will be there. We've got the dead slow advice in these two publications, the official DVS guide to driving, the essential skills, the official DVSA theory test for the drivers of large vehicles. Who would have thought that our dead slow message would be in those two publications? Only just been published. DVSA, very supportive of our campaign. So, dead or dead slow. We're working with all the right agencies. We're working with all the right stakeholders. And we've got some exceptional partnerships with the Department of Transport, with the police, with road safety organisations, with the Driving Instructors Association. So what I'm asking you to do is spread the dead slow message with your colleagues, with your friends, and we can come out, we can do presentations anywhere for this. And Horse Accidents website, please, even if you're involved in a near miss, please put it onto our Horse Accidents website, which is available on the BHS website. So, hopefully you can see I'm very passionate about this, and I'm totally committed to increasing the safety of horses on the roads. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Alan. That was a thought-provoking and a stimulating presentation. We're going to take questions at the end of these four papers, so if you bear that in mind, if you want to store up any questions, that would be great. Our next paper, looking at current R&D in helmet design and testing, was going to be given by Professor Michael Gilchrist from University College Dublin. Unfortunately, he's not able to make it due to ill health, and therefore I'm delighted that we have Michio Clark, who's a research fellow from the University College of Dublin, who's the one who's actually doing the work. So in fact, you're going to get the truth, but just be bearing in mind, Michio, that your supervisor is watching on live streaming, so that's fine. So, Michio, over to you.
Hey, Your Royal Highness, Lords, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. So thank you very much for the introduction. So today I'll be discussing kind of the current research and development in helmet designs, testings, and kind of dealing with rotational impacts. So kind of a little bit about the project that I'm a part of is the HEADS project. So it's kind of a European project funded under the Marie Curie training program. So there's 13 PhD positions in total with 6 partners covering five countries. So we have 3 academic partners, the University College Dublin, KTH in Stockholm, Sweden, and KU Leuven in Belgium, as well as 3 industry partners representing sports such as cycling, motorcycle, snow sports, and equestrian. And those partners are Laser Sports in Belgium, AGV in Italy, and Charles Owen here in the UK. As said, the main goal of the project is to better understand head injury and then hopefully design better tests and helmets to help protect against those injuries. So within that, there's kind of 3 main topics that the HEADS project covers. So that's accident reconstruction, head model refinement, and finally, standards development. So my research is focused on the accident reconstruction. So, and as well, that kind of feeds into the develop the standards. So the kind of sports that we are looking at again are cycling, motorcycle, snow sports, and of course equestrian. And in terms of the head model refinement, there's a large range of topics that we covered to try to better characterize the tissue in the head and brain. So kind of some aspects that we're looking at are how much energy does the scalp absorb in an impact, for instance. How can we characterizing bridging veins, or looking at developing elderly models in the heads. So as I said, today I'll focus on the equestrian aspect of the research. So horseback racing and equestrian sports, obviously very popular worldwide. However, getting on these horses can be particularly risky due to the height above the ground, speed, mass, and unpredictability of the horse. So this creates an environment in which injuries are most caused by being thrown from the horse. And one of the most common injuries is head injuries. Now, helmets have greatly reduced the amount of traumatic brain injuries that we see, such as skull fractures and other severe injuries, but concussion remains one of the most common injuries. Now, a lot of research in concussions has been completed in sports such as ice hockey or American football, but there's been very little attention to equestrian sports. So we don't, at the moment, there's very little understanding of what are these mechanisms that cause brain injury in equestrian sports. That kind of leads to the purpose of this research is, one, to try to understand what are the loading conditions which cause these brain injuries in equestrian sports, and how can we better develop helmet test standards to reflect those. So the manner in which the head is loaded is very important, because this will change the response of the head in terms of your kinetics and also the brain tissue deformation. As well, it will also affect the protective capacity of the helmet. So currently, a lot of the research in the equestrian side of things has focused on more looking at impacts to rigid surfaces. Now, this is to do with the standards impacting steel. However, even though there's a risk of impacting rigid surfaces, such as the concrete road, horse's hoof, or a fence, there's higher probability of impacting the soft surfaces, such as sand or turf. And kind of this is where the study of real-world accidents can really help us better understand what are these conditions which cause these brain injuries. And for once we kind of understand the conditions that cause brain injury, then we could feed this information to helmet manufacturers and helmet design committees to hopefully eventually develop better helmet standards, and then ultimately better tests, so you can kind of better protect right in the bottom corner there. So kind of the areas of research that I'll focus on are work that myself and Tom Connor have completed. So that real-world accident reconstruction, and then kind of and analyzing kind of the helmet damage from those, and as well the standard development. So far we have been able to reconstruct cases from the Turf Club in Ireland, as well as cases from British eventing. We're currently working with the British Horse Racing Society to gather cases from them as well. So in total, we've gathered 200 videos from those different organizations. I'll just kind of show you two examples of kind of the videos that we get and the subsequent reconstructions. So from these videos, we can use it to analyze, kind of, determine where the impact location was, how fast was the horse coming in, kind of what was the body position of impact, and kind of use that to feed into the computer simulation, which will follow these clips here. And as you can see here, this is an example from racing, which is helpful to us because we have these multiple camera angles that you're now seeing, which really give us a good idea from many different perspectives how this accident occurred. So this is kind of the last clip, and then the computer simulation will come. So once we take the impact location, body, we can manipulate that computer simulation, so as you see here, and we kind of recreate the same thing we see in the video, and then that would also feed the actual physical dummy reconstruction as well. So from the computer simulation, we can get the velocity and kind of angle, and we have the location, which feeds into that physical reconstruction. And then from there, we can understand kind of the kinematics of the head, and as well feed that into a brain model to